My sister and I were reborn on the day our family went bankrupt. My sister knelt on the ground, crying and pleading, "Mom, please give the opportunity for education to my sister. I'm willing to sacrifice for our family, give up my studies, and marry Pei Ching." Pei Ching was the eldest son of the wealthiest family, but he became a vegetable due to an unexpected car accident in my previous life. Less than a month after I married him, Pei Ching woke up. The wealthiest family credited all their success to me and showered me with affection. Meanwhile, my sister, having fallen for the wrong person, was not only cheated out of her money and dignity but also nearly beaten to death in a domestic violence incident. She blamed me for stealing her position as the young mistress of the Pei family and ended up killing me by running me over with her car. When I opened my eyes again, I looked at her hypocritical act and couldn't help but sneer. Even after being reborn, a fool remains a fool. Mom, I beg you to give the chance for schooling to my sister. I am willing to sacrifice for our family, give up my studies, and marry Pei Ching. My twin sister Qin. She knelt on the ground, sincere and resolute, her face full of determination. I saw my parents' eyes redden and be deeply moved by Qin's display. Our family is facing bankruptcy, and only the richest Pei family is willing to help, on the condition of a marriage alliance. However, as everyone knows, the eldest son of the Pei family, Pei Ching, became a vegetative state after a car accident half a year ago. Marrying him means possibly being a living widow for life. In my previous life, Qinshi, to avoid marrying Pei Ching, secretly bribed the servant on the day our family was to draw lots to decide who would marry him. She replaced both lots with identical ones and generously let me draw first. The result was obvious. But she never expected that less than a month after I married him, Pei Ching miraculously woke up. Everyone envied my good fortune, and the Pei family credited me for it. My parents were also happy for me, but Qinshi was green with envy. In a fit of anger, she also married a wealthy man, only to find that he was a fraud. Not only did he deceive her for money and affection, but he also repeatedly abused her after marriage. The more she thought about it, the angrier she became. Convinced that I had stolen her position as the young mistress of the Pei family, so, after nearly being beaten to death by her husband once again, she drove a car and killed me. When I woke up again, I had been reborn back to the day our family faced bankruptcy. This time, she didn't even let our parents draw lots and took the initiative to sacrifice herself first. I knew then that she had also been reborn. I saw her kneeling on the ground, and no matter how hard she tried to hide it, she couldn't conceal the excitement in her eyes. She thought she was marrying Pei Ching. Then I can live a life of luxury, just as glamorous as I was in my previous life. What a fool. He has no idea what I went through in the Pei family, no idea how disgusting and twisted the Pei family members are. Cece, are you sure? You need to understand that Pei Ching is a vegetable. After all, both are our own flesh and blood. My mother, still somewhat reluctant, tried to persuade me. I'm sure. Qinshi firmly stated once again, anyway, I only got into a third-rate university, while my sister is attending a top-tier 985 university. It would be such a waste for her to drop out and get married. Qinshi had always been a poor student since childhood, and even her spot at the third-rate university was bought by the family. Hearing her say this, our parents felt that Qinshi had truly grown up and become sensible, nodding with relief, since you're the one asking for it. We'll grant your wish, Cece. Sorry to put you through this. Having received our parents' approval, Qinshi couldn't hide her smug smile. She even shot me a look, but I pretended not to understand and acted as if I were immensely grateful to her. After all, it was she who would soon be experiencing the joys of the human world on my behalf. Once it was decided that Qinshi would marry Pei Ching, she started acting arrogantly at home. Since we were young, she has never been as favored by our parents as I was, though that was largely her own doing. She never listened to our parents and had no interest in studying. She started dating in junior high and was called to the principal's office countless times, even nearly eloping with someone once. Later, she insisted on marrying the wealthy Yiming, despite our parents' objections. After marriage, she constantly asked our parents for money to support Yiming, nearly draining the family's savings. Our parents were utterly disappointed in her and eventually cut her off completely. In my previous life, without our parents' support, Qinshi also came to me for money. Of course, I didn't give her any. Firstly, I also believed that Yiming was unreliable and that marrying him was just a scheme to swindle money and take advantage of her. Secondly, although I appeared to live a lavish life in the Pei family, I actually had no access to their money. But Qinshi thought I was jealous of her and deliberately refusing to help. Now, finally seeing herself as the family's savior, she felt a sense of triumph, and with the thought of soon becoming the superior young madam of the Pei family, she naturally wanted to vent all the grievances she had suffered in her previous life. I want to eat an apple, he said loudly to me. Fifth sister, I called to the maid. I'm asking you to peel it for me, Qinshi said domineeringly. I looked at him and he said with a matter-of-fact expression, "I married a vegetative person without hesitation to prevent you from suffering. Shouldn't you treat me better?" I picked up the fruit knife and peeled a honey heart apple for him. He was right, he had indeed taken my place in suffering, and his days of comfort were truly numbered. I decided to be merciful. I peeled the apple and handed it to Chinchi. He glanced at me, his face darkening. "You're giving me a whole apple. How am I supposed to eat it? Do you want to choke me to death?" "I want it cut into pieces." I remained silent and cut it into small pieces. Feeding him, he commanded again, and I used a small fork to feed a piece into his mouth. As soon as he ate it, he spat it out, splattering my face. Before I could get angry, he played the victim first. "Mom, sister deliberately gave me a rotten apple to eat. Does she want me dead?" I rolled my eyes in disbelief. At that moment, my parents happened to come home from work. During this time, they had indeed been more indulgent toward Chinchi than usual, almost always giving in to his demands. My mother comforted him. "Your sister definitely didn't do it on purpose. I'll buy you a new one. You've always favored sister since we were young, now that I've made such a big sacrifice for the family. You still side with her." Chinchi was furious. "You are both my flesh and blood. How could I favor one over the other? I'm strict with you because I care about you." "I don't care. Sister gave me a rotten apple to eat. You have to compensate me." "How do you want to be compensated?" "I want to buy that bag from Chanel. It's only 130,000. I saw my mother gasp. The family company hadn't yet overcome its difficulties, and 130,000 was undoubtedly a heavy blow to my parents. They tried to explain, but Chinchi wouldn't relent. In the end, my parents had no choice but to grit their teeth and agree. Chinchi immediately showed a smug smile. After my parents left, he deliberately said to me, "Sister, don't be jealous." "I'm not jealous. I'm just watching you dig your own grave and end up abandoned by everyone." After that, Chinchi became increasingly domineering at home. Whatever she wanted, she had to have, regardless of the family's current situation. She insisted on the best food and the finest things. I could see the renewed affection my parents had for her gradually fading away, but Chinchi didn't care at all. She believed she would enjoy endless wealth and luxury in the future and wouldn't need to rely on the family. In fact, she thought others would have to curry favor with her someday. Still, she remained somewhat wary of me, which was evident when she deliberately introduced me to Ming. So, in this life, Chinchi not only wanted to steal my wealth but also to make me relive her tragic fate, imposing all her misery onto me. It was utterly disgusting. Even after being reborn, she didn't focus on improving herself or learning to be independent and self-reliant. Instead, her mind was filled with wicked thoughts and men. Even if she were reborn 100 times, it wouldn't save her from her own foolishness. Naturally, I rejected Chinchi's so-called kindness. In response, she threw a tantrum in front of our parents, claiming I had humiliated her in front of her friends and demanding that they force me to apologize to Ming. By this point, our parents were growing impatient with Chinchi, but out of consideration for her sacrifices for the family, they had been tolerating her behavior. Chinchi, however, grew even more arrogant, insisting that our parents give her an explanation. I had had enough. The noisy hall suddenly fell silent. "Since my sister feels that marrying Peiqing is such a great sacrifice, then I'll marry him," I declared loudly. As the older sister, it's only right that I take on the responsibilities of the eldest. Chinchi's face instantly turned pale from shock. She probably never expected me to say such a thing. She had thought she could use the marriage to Peiqing to control me but didn't anticipate me turning the tables. Our parents fell silent too, their patience with Chinchi truly worn thin. "Mom, Dad, please inform the Pei family that I will marry Peiqing. After all, they just want a daughter-in-law. Anyone will do," I said again, firmly. "No, I'll marry him," Chinchi exclaimed, both agitated and sincere. "Let me do it. There's no need for my sister to sacrifice herself," I deliberately insisted. "If my sister is willing to sacrifice for the family, so am I." I knew Chinchi would never agree. She was desperate to marry Peiqing, almost to the point of obsession. "It's all my own choice. Sister, please don't compete with me. I don't feel wronged at all. I'm proud to be able to contribute to the family." Chinchi, terrified that I might actually go through with it. "You really don't feel wronged?" I confirmed. "Not at all. In that case, from now on, little sister, please stop constantly mentioning your sacrifices for the family. It places a heavy psychological burden on us." "I won't say it again," Chinchi hastily promised. Finally, Chinchi quieted down, no longer daring to act willfully based on her contributions to the family. Our parents also enjoyed a few days of peace, until Chinchi finally got her wish and married Peiqing. On her wedding day, she whispered smugly in my ear, "Sister, from today onward, you'll only have envy for me in this lifetime." I smiled to myself, thinking, "Chinchi, congratulations on officially stepping into the abyss." Chinchi and Peiqing's wedding was extravagantly grand. Even though Pei Qing himself did not appear, in her previous life, Qinshi had always been jealous. From childhood, she was lazy and unmotivated, lagging behind me in every way, yet she couldn't stand to see me succeed. When she attended the wedding, there wasn't a trace of a smile on her face. However, she probably consoled herself with the thought that Pei Qing was a vegetative patient, which kept her from causing any trouble. This time, it was finally her turn, and I could see she could barely contain her joy. The wedding ceremony proceeded as usual, with the second son of the Pei family, Pei Qing, holding a photo of Pei Qing to complete the ritual. The moment I saw Pei Qing, I couldn't help but tremble all over, and images of him humiliating and whipping me involuntarily surfaced in my mind. How he made me kneel naked on the floor and learn to bark like a dog. "What's wrong?" my mother asked beside me, clearly noticing my pale complexion. I lowered my gaze and said, "It's nothing," but beneath the table, my hands were clenched into fists. My mother didn't dwell on it, as the wedding ceremony had already begun. Suppressing my inner fear, disgust, and anger, I watched the two people on the stage, noticing how Pei Qing's gaze seemed to linger subtly on Qinshi before curling his lips into a meaningful smile. I was all too familiar with that smile. It was nothing short of beastly. The MC asked Qinshi, "Do you take Mr. Pei Qing to be your husband?" "I do," Qinshi declared firmly. "Even if Pei Qing never wakes up, I will remain faithful until death. My attitude toward marriage is that there is only widowhood, no divorce." The entire venue erupted in applause, everyone moved by Qinshi's vow. Initially, some wedding guests had whispered that Qinshi was only marrying a vegetative man for his wealth. No, everyone believed Qinshi's love for Pei Qing was genuine. Qinshi basked in the applause, completely unaware of the lewd and sinister smile that had crept onto Pei Qing's lips after her declaration. After the wedding concluded, Qinshi happily left with the Pei family. Seeing her excessively joyful demeanor, I could only wish her luck. On my way back, I received a message from Qinshi. She was desperate for me to envy her, so she had been provoking me throughout the day. Seeing that I hadn't reacted much, she couldn't resist sending another message. "Jia, do you have any idea how well the Pei family treats me? Not to mention how much effort they put into this wedding. You saw Pei Qing too. As a rich second-generation heir, he took care of me the entire time. Did you catch yourself staring at him today? Do you have feelings for him, even though he respects me, given our family's status? Don't humiliate yourself. I've just married into the Pei family. Don't embarrass me." I sneered and put my phone down. So, Qinshi was afraid I would seduce Pei Qing, afraid that I would also marry into the Pei family and share in their wealth and luxury. It's laughable. If I remember correctly, tonight Pei Qing will take Pei Qing's place and consummate the marriage with Qinshi, right on the same bed where Pei Qing sleeps. And the more Qinshi pleads for mercy, the more excited Pei Qing will become. This night will truly be a storm of violence. Of course, none of this has anything to do with me anymore. For me, the most important thing now is to get the company back on its feet, because I know that once the two brothers have had their fun with Qinshi, they will immediately turn on her. However, in my previous life, I was run over and killed by Qinshi before it came to that. In this life, I must prepare for the worst in advance and repay blood with blood. I will not let anyone who has ever wronged me get away with it. According to tradition, the day after the wedding, the bride is supposed to return to her parents' home. Since Pei Qing was still in a vegetative state, Qinshi naturally came back alone. When she returned home, her expression was clearly unpleasant, and even her posture while walking seemed off. The way she looked at me was as if she wished she could tear me to pieces, but I pretended not to notice and warmly welcomed her along with our parents. Qinshi, of course, didn't voice her grievances. The path was one she had chosen herself, and she wasn't ready to admit her mistake so soon. Moreover, she still held on to hope for Pei Qing. She believed that once Pei Qing woke up a month later, she would be able to escape Pei Qing's twisted nature and enjoy immense affection and wealth. What she didn't know was that Pei Qing was even worse than Pei Qing. Qinshi stayed at home for a day, reluctant to leave, until Pei Qing personally came to pick her up. The moment Pei Qing arrived, I saw Qinshi's face turn pale. My parents were very warm toward him, in front of outsiders. Not just Pei Qing but even the former Pei Qing had always been the pride of heaven, polite, refined, and well-liked by elders. Pei Qing politely said, "Auntie, no need to trouble yourself. I've come on my parents' orders to take my sister-in-law back. They were worried it would be too late for her to return alone. Our in-laws are so thoughtful toward our Sisi," my parents sincerely remarked. Qinshi didn't dare to speak. Pei Qing smiled and said, "Sisi, now that she's married to my brother, she's part of the Pei family. Auntie, don't worry. Our whole family will treat her well. Then, Sisi is in your care." Pei Qing nodded and said to Qinshi, "Sister-in-law, let's go." I saw Qinxi's face grow even paler, her body trembling uncontrollably. Suddenly, she looked at me and introduced me to Pei Qing, saying, "This is my twin sister, she's a top student, with a great figure and a pretty face." Pei Qing glanced at me and greeted me politely. "Hello," I responded coldly and indifferently. Qinxi seemed to want to say more, but I quickly interjected, "Cici, Pei Qing came specifically to pick you up. Don't keep him waiting too long, you should head back now." My parents also urged her to leave. Qinxi gritted her teeth, shot me a fierce glare, and left. Of course, I knew what wicked thoughts she was harboring. Sure enough, a short while later, I received a message from Qinxi. "Sis, don't say your little sister isn't looking out for you. Now that I've married into a wealthy family, I won't forget to help you. Today, I specifically introduced you to Pei Qing. You know how sought after he is. If you're interested in him, I can help create opportunities for you." I replied, "No, thanks, such immense fortune is not for me to enjoy, you should savor it yourself." Qinxi wanted to use me as her scapegoat to escape Pei Qing. How laughable, not to mention that I would never fall for her tricks. Pei Qing also had a peculiar quirk, he was only interested in his brother's women and had no interest in other women. Later, Qinxi sent me many more messages, boasting about how wonderful Pei Qing was, but I ignored them all. Besides, I was genuinely busy. In addition to my studies, I started helping my parents manage the company. It was only then that I realized why the company had been struggling in the first place. Its direction was completely wrong, sticking to traditional offline sales. This was also why, in my previous life, I had been controlled by the Pei family. After joining the company, I immediately initiated a transformation, making it one of the first to venture into live streaming. At a time when live streaming wasn't yet mainstream, I attracted attention and traffic by featuring attractive men and women. As competition grew fiercer, I became a host myself, using bilingual commentary in my streams to talk about poetry and distant dreams, becoming a breath of fresh air in the live streaming world. Under my leadership, the company quickly got back on track and developed rapidly. Half a year had already passed by then, and Pei Qing, of course, had long since woken up. Just like in the previous life, after Pei Qing unexpectedly regained consciousness, the Pei family credited all that to Qinxi, showering her with priceless jewelry and designer bags, spoiling her rotten. Wherever Qinxi went, she was the envy of everyone, and she reveled in it. As soon as Pei Qing woke up, she came back home, deliberately flaunting her status in front of me. The Pei family called me their lucky star, saying that if it weren't for me, Pei Qing wouldn't have woken up so quickly. I had initially been worried that Pei Qing might not like me. After all, ours wasn't a love marriage. He didn't even know me before, and I was afraid he'd resist. Who would have thought that he'd fall in love with me at first sight after waking up? So, it goes to show that being kind really pays off. It's precisely because I was selfless enough to sacrifice myself for this family that I ended up with such a fortunate fate. I listened without much reaction, and when she saw that I didn't show any signs of envy or jealousy, she sneered, "Sis, you just can't stand to see me doing well, can you? Now that I've finally got a good life, you're deliberately giving me the cold shoulder. Who asked you to be so selfish and unwilling to sacrifice yourself?" I rolled my eyes and stood up, ready to go back to my room and attend to my own business. I wasn't even supposed to be home today. But Mom and Dad said Qinxi was coming back, and as her older sister, I should at least entertain her a bit. I didn't want to make things difficult for Qinpei, so I went along. "Don't come begging me for help later," I said. Seeing that I was ignoring her, Qinxi snapped, "You know very well what my status in the Pei family is now, and you also know just how wealthy the Pei family is. If you ever run into trouble in the future, don't come looking for me, fine by me." I agreed without hesitation, then turned back to her and added, "And don't you come looking for me either if you have problems." How laughable. Qinxi burst into exaggerated laughter upon hearing my words. "Sis, take a look at what I am now and what you are. Do you really think I'd ever need to come to you for anything? Then it's settled," I said, not wanting to waste any more breath on her. "Qinpei, since you've put it so bluntly, let's clear the air right here and now." I frowned at her. "Clear what air?" Qinxi declared righteously. "Originally, now that I'm living the high life, I wanted to lend you a hand. After all, with the Pei family's assets, our family could never catch up in several lifetimes, and since you're my only sister, I kindly wanted to give you a better life. I even went out of my way to introduce Pei Qing to you. But not only did you not appreciate it, you've been nothing but sarcastic toward me. Today, in front of Mom and Dad, let's make it clear, from now on, no matter what happens to you, don't come to me for help. Likewise, I won't come to you for anything either, and you're not allowed to go to Pei Qing either. Pei Qing is my husband, and everything he has is mine." I couldn't help but laugh. It finally clicked. All this talk from Qinxi was because she was afraid I'd have an affair with Pei Qing in the previous life. At least in public, Pei-cheng treated me exceptionally well, and she was worried that he might take a liking to me again. Pei-cheng had just woken up after such a long sleep and needed time to recover, so she didn't yet know about his tendencies. She only knew that he hadn't shown any resistance toward her. Nonsense. Who would refuse prey that comes knocking at the door? Jay, you wouldn't be so shameless as to steal your own sister's man. Seeing that I didn't immediately agree, Qinshi got worked up all of a sudden. I was genuinely amused by Qinshi's domineering logic. How can you be so twisted? Qinshi snapped, saying only someone with a twisted mind would think others are the same. I retorted sarcastically, I've never had such thoughts. I'd be more than happy to see you and Pei-cheng locked together forever. I said word by word, then swear that you have no improper thoughts about Pei-cheng. Or may you die a miserable death. Why should I swear for you? If you don't swear, it means you're guilty. Do you really think everyone in the world is as filthy, shameless, and bottomless as you? I have morals, unlike you with your warped values. Qinpei, that's enough. Qinshi was completely triggered by my words. Our parents saw us arguing and quickly stepped in as peacemakers. What's going on with you two? It's rare for Shishi to come back. Let's not do this. We're all family. I'm not family with him. Qinshi was furious. Today, I'm cutting off all sisterly ties with her. If any of you try to stop me, I'll sever parent-child relations with you too. Don't forget, our family's company is still alive thanks to the Pei family, thanks to me. Our parents were deeply embarrassed by Qinshi's words. Although it was true, selling out a daughter for prosperity is shameful no matter where you are. It's not like no one around has criticized our parents' actions. They aren't without regret, but for the sake of the family business, they have to tough it out. After all, it's the hard work of generations, and they don't want to see it destroyed in their hands. Besides, Grandpa is still lying in the hospital. If we lose our financial support, we won't be able to afford his expensive medical bills and would have to watch him die. That's why in my past life, I was willing to sacrifice for the family, but for Qinshi, this has become her capital to do as she pleases in this house. Our issues shouldn't involve our parents. I don't want to put them in a difficult position. At this point, I hadn't fully developed the company yet, at least not enough to surpass the Pei family. I said, I'm cutting off sisterly ties with you. Fine, from now on, we have no relationship whatsoever. No matter what happens to me, no matter what happens to you, we'll have nothing to do with each other, or may lightning strike us. Deal, I agreed without hesitation. Qinshi smiled smugly. After all, both of his goals for the day had been achieved. First, he ensured I had no interaction with Pei-cheng, and second, by cutting ties with me, he could now rightfully enjoy his wealth and luxury all by himself. I suddenly felt a strong desire to see just how miserable he would be on the day regret finally caught up with him. In the following period, Qinshi never returned, though news about him frequently appeared in the media. Pei-cheng recovered quickly, with his wife Qinshi accompanying him on walks, never leaving his side. Pei-cheng took his beloved wife Qinshi shopping at major malls, sparing no expense to make her smile, celebrating Qinshi's birthday extravagantly and gifting her a $1 billion seaside mansion for round-the-clock revelry. Sitting in my office, I couldn't help but clench my fists. In my previous life, I had nearly died in that seaside villa. The so-called day and night truly meant every single moment. Pei-cheng and Qinshi played the loving couple in the media for a full 6 months. Today, after working overtime, I returned home and immediately sensed something was off as soon as I stepped inside. I saw Pei-cheng sitting on my living room sofa, with my parents warmly entertaining him. Qinshi sat obediently beside Pei-cheng, looking more well-behaved than I had ever seen him in my life, and he even seemed a bit cautious now. It wasn't Pei-cheng's first time visiting my home, but I had always deliberately avoided crossing paths with them. This sudden visit caught me off guard. No one had informed me that Pei-pei had returned. My mother quickly called me over, saying, "This is Pei-cheng. Your sister has been married to him for so long, and you still haven't met him, right? Come and get acquainted." I looked at Pei-cheng, and he looked back at me with keen interest, deliberately curling his lips into a smile. He said, "Sister, you're such a busy person. Every time I come here, I hear you're working overtime. How has the Qin family business been developing lately? Is there anything I can help with? There's no need for you to work so hard just to earn money. I heard you've even become a streamer, trying to entertain others. Must be tough." Seeing Pei-cheng's utterly hypocritical face again, I truly wished I could tear it to shreds, remembering everything I had endured in my previous life. I let out a light laugh and replied, "It's manageable. I can't rely on others forever, sister. Don't push yourself too hard. We're family now. If you need anything, just say the word," Pei-cheng said magnanimously. "All right," I responded, not wanting to waste any more words on him. "I have some things to attend to, so I'll head back to my room. Feel free to chat." With that, I went upstairs without another glance, finding the very sight of him nauseating. After returning to my study, I busied myself with work until I heard arguing from the next room. I want a divorce from Pei Cheng. I don't want to go back to his house anymore. I refuse. It was Qinxi's voice, crying and making a scene. Did you and Pei Cheng have a fight? Couples argue, but they always make up. Don't be so childish. Pei Cheng treats you so well. Why are you talking nonsense? My mother tried to console him. He doesn't treat me well at all. He's a pervert. He's enough. Since you were little, you've always been so impulsive. My mother cut him off impatiently. On one hand, Qinxi had brought this on himself, and my mother had little trust in him. On the other hand, Pei Cheng had been flaunting their loving relationship all this time. How could she possibly believe he was mistreating Qinxi? I heard the sound of a door opening and closing. My mother must have left directly. I let out a soft laugh, feeling a bit of schadenfreude. The door to the study was suddenly and rudely pushed open. Qinxi happened to catch the smile at the corner of my mouth. With red-rimmed eyes, she glared at me fiercely. "Qinpei, did you do it on purpose? You knew all along, didn't you?" "I don't know what you're talking about." I pretended to understand nothing. "You knew Pei Cheng was not a good man. Yet you still wanted me to marry him. How could you be so malicious?" Qinxi roared, clearly on the verge of a breakdown. I feigned surprise. "Isn't Pei Cheng good? Doesn't he dote on you? He buys you so much jewelry, luxury cars, and mansions. Everyone envies you. What more could you possibly be dissatisfied with?" "You're mocking me." Qinxi couldn't stop screaming. "Where am I mocking you? I'm sincerely wishing you well. But you told me before to stay away from Pei Cheng and not to ask you for anything, so I had no choice but to keep my distance from both of you," I said with a hint of regret. "You, Qinxi." My words made her almost explode with anger, her tears on the verge of falling. She was about to say something else when, "Cici, where are you?" "We're going home." Pei Cheng's voice suddenly came from outside. I saw Qinxi's entire body trembling. Her fear of Pei Cheng was absolutely bone deep. Uncontrollable. A moment later, Pei Cheng appeared in my study and naturally wrapped his arm around Qinxi. "Let's go, darling." Qinxi's face turned pale. She glared at me viciously but didn't dare show the slightest resistance in front of Pei Cheng. She knew that the more she resisted, the worse the consequences would be. After Qinxi and Pei Cheng left, I didn't pay much attention to them either. If it weren't for Qinxi suddenly calling me that night, asking me to pick him up because he was too drunk to go home, hilarious, having lived a second life, could I possibly be as foolish as before and fall for his tricks again? I outright refused. "Qinxi, don't forget what you said. We've severed our sisterly ties. You don't ask me for help, and I won't ask you." "Qinpei, do you want to watch me die?" she suddenly screamed hysterically from the other end. I ignored her and hung up directly. That same night, the media captured Qinxi being rushed to the emergency room late at night. Pei Cheng came out and publicly explained to reporters that Qinxi had overeaten, causing indigestion, and they'd taken him to the hospital just to be safe. The next day, Pei Cheng's image as a doting husband reached new heights, with no one questioning it. Of course, I knew it was all a facade, but it had nothing to do with me, so I didn't need to dwell on it. However, a few days later, my live stream was suddenly flooded with negative comments. Which had always received positive feedback, was now filled with accusations that my products were problematic. People claimed they got diarrhea after eating the sour and spicy noodles I sold and were posting everywhere to smear my reputation. The sales in my live stream plummeted drastically, and every day, someone would come to. I knew very well that this situation was anything but simple. Sure enough, I received a call from Qinxi. He said, "Qinpei, do you really think you can revive the company single-handedly? You're no match for the Pei family." I knew it was the Pei family behind this, and I also knew what they were up to. "Today is Pei Chen's birthday at Harbor City. You'd better come early, or you can just wait for the Qin family to go bankrupt." After dropping that line, Qinxi hung up. My hand holding the phone trembled uncontrollably with anger. In my previous life, when I was tormented by that Pei Cheng, I never thought of dragging anyone else down with me, but Qinxi couldn't stand me doing better than him, and he couldn't stand me suffering more than him either. In the evening, I still went. When I arrived, Qinxi was kneeling on the floor pouring wine for Pei Cheng. He looked as one could be, a far cry from the loving couple image portrayed in the media. Besides Pei Cheng and Pei Cheng, there were also their fair-weather friends and their respective female companions, a complete mess, unbearable to witness. Pei Cheng unhurriedly placed his foot on Qinxi, who was kneeling on the ground, treating him like an animal. Qinxi didn't dare to resist at all. Wasn't he supposed to be quite proud? Pei Cheng's perverted smirk made it clear. "Now you know that with just one finger, I can ruin you and your family, so all the negative comments in my live stream were your doing." I asked him fiercely. Pei Ching shrugged, not even bothering to hide it. Just a little trick. Why so angry? Why did you do this? Pei Ching suddenly kicked Qinshi over, sending him crashing into the nearby coffee table. Qinshi didn't dare make a sound. I watched as Pei Ching slowly stood up and walked over to me. He lifted my chin. What do you think? The way he said Pei Pei almost made me lose control, and I slapped him across the face. Whenever he called me by that nickname, it was always when he was at his most twisted. Your sister's taste was terrible. You're too far off. In just half a year, I've had my fill, Pei Ching said lewdly, but it's you who haunts my dreams. Enough already. I took several steps back from Pei Ching, keeping my distance. He didn't seem to care. Stop pretending. Qin Pei, do you think I don't know? You're just like me. He didn't say the word reborn out loud, since there were others present. In truth, I knew he had been reborn too. I could see it in his eyes the moment I saw him. You know my methods. Be obedient, or tomorrow you'll see the news about the Qin Corporation going bankrupt. In my previous life, Pei Ching had always threatened me like this, forcing me to submit to him. Come and play. Pei Ching clearly didn't want to waste too much time on me. He thought a few words from him would make me comply. I sneered and turned to leave. Pei Ching grabbed me abruptly and threw me violently onto the sofa. You refuse a toast only to be forced to drink a forfeit. Everyone, get her. I saw several men approaching me. Through the gaps, I caught a glimpse of Qinshi's evil smile. He couldn't wait for me to suffer even more than he had in this lifetime. At that very moment, the door was suddenly flung open. Police, several officers rushed in. Everyone, stand up. The scene descended into chaos as everyone scrambled for their clothes. Pei Ching, however, remained calm. He walked up to the police and asked, "Do you know who I am? I don't care who you are. We've received a report of group indecency. Everyone, come to the station for questioning." Are you kidding me? I'm Pei Ching, the eldest son of the Pei family. Do you have a death wish? Pei Ching didn't take the police seriously at all. Cuff them all, the officer commanded. Pei Ching cursed and threw a punch directly at the officer's face. Assaulting an officer is a serious offense. Another officer swiftly subdued him with a shoulder throw. Pei Ching landed awkwardly on the ground, crying out in pain, "Let me go. How dare you treat me like this? You'll all regret this." Pei Ching was unaware that all his current actions were being broadcast live across the entire internet, learning from past mistakes. In my previous life, I had secretly recorded videos and gathered evidence to file a report, but in the end, it all came to nothing, and I suffered severe retaliation from Pei Ching. This time, of course, I wouldn't be so foolish. I had anticipated everything before coming, so I installed a mini camera on myself and had the company's IT department broadcast it live in real time. Now, the entire nation knows what he did, and even with all his capabilities, he has no way to escape. Under the witness of the entire internet, Pei Ching was sentenced to 5 years in prison. Pei Ching was sentenced to 3 years, and his so-called friends were also sentenced to varying degrees of punishment. Qinshi, of course, was not among them. He was still the victim. After the sentencing, I went to visit Pei Ching in prison. He had shaved his head but showed no signs of remorse. He said with certainty, "Qin Pei, do you really think this move of yours can defeat me? You're overthinking it. 5 years from now, when I'm released, I can still make your life a living hell." I sneered coldly. My visit today was not out of kindness but to bring him some good news. I placed the recent news in front of him. Pei Corporation stock has been continuously plummeting due to your involvement in group debauchery. In just half a year, its market value has evaporated by 2/3. Pei Ching's face turned grim. But he hadn't broken down yet. I continued. The chairman of Pei Corporation was suspected of embezzlement, bribery, and tax evasion and was administratively detained a week ago. Panic began to show on Pei Ching's face. I spoke slowly and deliberately. The chairman's wife, unable to withstand the series of blows, suffered a sudden cerebral hemorrhage and was rushed to the hospital. Her current condition is unknown. Pei Ching was on the verge of losing control. I smiled visibly and told him word by word, today's latest news. Your father's little secretary, also his mistress, has taken all the remaining funds of Pei Corporation and fled. In other words, the Pei Group has now become an empty shell and will soon declare bankruptcy. I wonder how it feels to have your family ruined and your loved ones lost. Pei Ching finally couldn't hold back and went mad. Impossible, you're lying to me. How could the Pei family, with such a vast fortune, go bankrupt just like that? Our family's wealth is enough to last for generations. Yes, if spent normally, your family's money would indeed last for generations. I sneered coldly, but unfortunately, aside from you and Pei Ching, there are 2 prodigal sons. The state your family is in now is all thanks to you. Shut up, shut your mouth. Qin Pei, once I'm out of prison, I'll kill you. Pei Ching's eyes turned red with rage. The prison guard beside him pressed his head firmly against the table. The sight of his bulging veins and his inability to resist was truly satisfying. I looked at him as if watching a joke and whispered in his ear, "That depends on whether you can live long enough to see that day." "What do you mean?" "Exactly what I said." I gave a cold smile, then stood up to leave. Before walking away, I turned back and said to him, "Oh, I almost forgot to tell you, a few days ago, the city released its latest list of the wealthiest individuals. And the Qin group ranked first." I saw Pei Cheng's eyes instantly turn bloodshot, clearly overwhelmed and unable to accept the blow. I turned and walked away, only hearing the prison guard's angry voice behind me, "Don't move, stay put." It sounded as though Pei Cheng was begging for mercy. "Stop hitting me. I won't move anymore. Please don't hit me." Pei Cheng probably never imagined he would end up like this, the thrill of revenge. Who says it isn't satisfying? When I returned from the prison and just arrived home, I heard Qinxi's voice. How shameless. After Pei Cheng was arrested, Qinxi showed no intention of leaving the Pei family. When the news broke, my parents urged Qinxi to divorce Pei Cheng. After all, she was their daughter, and they were worried, but Qinxi stubbornly believed that with Pei Cheng and Pei Qing, those two demons, in prison, she would have a good life in the Pei family. With the Pei family's immense wealth, she would have endless money to spend. My parents scolded her out of frustration, but she accused them of not wanting her to be happy and even threatened to cut ties with them. I suspect she still thought that without the Pei family's support, our family would soon go bankrupt. Since I was the one who personally sent Pei Cheng and Pei Qing to prison, the Pei family would surely hold a grudge. To avoid being implicated, she made her stance clear from the start, but within a few months, it was the Pei family that went bankrupt, so now, she's shamelessly come crawling back. Qinxi saw me and quickly greeted me with enthusiasm. "Sis, don't call me sis. We've already cut ties. Have you forgotten, sis? That's all in the past. You're magnanimous and won't hold my youthful ignorance against me, right?" Qinxi tried to act cute, but I genuinely felt a psychological discomfort and couldn't hold back, letting out a real gag. Qinxi's face clearly showed some embarrassment. And of course, I didn't give her a friendly look either. I said bluntly, "You made it perfectly clear back then, we have nothing to do with each other, or else may we be struck by lightning. You might not be afraid of dying, but I am, sis." Qinxi drew out her tone, trying to win me over. "Besides, I'm only 15 minutes older than you, we're the same age, so don't act all innocent in front of me. I'm not buying it, and it's making me a bit sick." Qinxi's face turned red with shame. "Fifth aunt, see the guest out." After giving the order, I added, "From now on, if any idlers come knocking, don't open the door." The servant hurried over and said to Qinxi, "Miss Qin, this way, please." Qinxi's eyes were burning with anger. She knew she couldn't win me over. She quickly turned to our parents and cried, "Mom, Dad, sis is kicking me out. You have to help me." I looked at my parents and saw a flicker of hesitation in their eyes. Finally, my mother said firmly, "You're really not welcome in this home. Leave quickly, and don't come back in the future." Qinxi's eyes widened in disbelief. She hadn't expected our parents to be so heartless toward her too. "I'm your own daughter. How can you treat me like this?" Qinxi screamed. "Didn't you voluntarily cut ties with us?" My mother said coldly. "Back when you were doing well. You look down on our whole family. Now that you're in trouble, you come to us. Do you really think we're easy targets? But if I hadn't sacrificed myself back then and married Pei Cheng, our family would have gone bankrupt long ago. Would Qin Peilai even have had the chance to manage the company? I don't know why you voluntarily married Pei Cheng back then, but the only thing we're sure of is that it definitely wasn't for our family's sake." My mother spoke word by word. Qinxi couldn't find a single reason to defend myself for a long time. "Fifth aunt, see the guest out." My mother issued the order to leave. "I'm not going. This is my home. I won't leave." Qinxi threw a tantrum. I directly had a few of the household servants carry her out. After Qinxi left, my mother specifically reminded me, "From now on, no matter what Qinxi asks you to do, don't get involved with her. A thankless wretch like her isn't worth keeping." Good. Qinxi successfully managed to alienate everyone around her. I was initially worried that Mom and Dad might soften their stance. Indeed, heaven's calamities can be survived, but self-inflicted ones are beyond redemption. I thought Qinxi would settle down after being abandoned by our whole family, but unexpectedly, she started her own live stream, accusing our family of ingratitude online. She claimed that to save our family from bankruptcy, she was forced to marry a vegetative man. She said that after Pei Cheng woke up, he turned out to be a pervert who tormented her in every way, and she endured humiliation to protect the family business. Now that Pei Cheng has finally been imprisoned and the family has faced the consequences they deserved, with the family business back on track, our family began to look down on her for being unclean and kicked her out. Qinxi's live stream gained immense popularity, with over 100,000 viewers as soon as she went live. Everyone sympathized with her, and our entire family was subjected to online abuse. The Chin Group was naturally affected, with its stock price continuously falling. My livestream and the company's livestream were flooded with angry comments from netizens. I proactively called Chin, but she didn't answer, nor did she answer our parents' calls. She capitalized on the attention, playing the victim in her livestream to sell products and make a fortune. I suspect she's quite pleased with herself for coming up with such a clever way to get back at us, making money while making our lives miserable, killing two birds with one stone. However, my patience has reached its limit. I had hoped that, in this lifetime, as long as she didn't cause any more trouble and lived her life quietly without provoking me, I would let it go. The suffering she endured after marrying Peiqing was, in a way, her punishment for her past life. But it seems some people only know how to push their luck. At the peak of her live stream's popularity today, I posted several videos on my short video account. The first video showed Chin volunteering to marry Peiqing when our parents were struggling to make a decision. The second video captured Chin's domineering attitude at home, where I said I would marry Peiqing and she didn't need to, but she firmly insisted on marrying him. The third video showed Chin cutting ties with me and our parents. The fourth was an audio recording of Chin demanding that I attend Peiqing's birthday party. The fifth video revealed Chin's malicious and triumphant smile when I was being bullied by Peiqing at the birthday party. At the time, everyone's attention was on Peiqing, so no one noticed that fleeting moment, but I deliberately zoomed in and slowed down the footage. Once all the videos were released, the truth became clear. Chin was still playing the victim in her livestream, saying, "You have no idea what kind of life I had in the Chin family. My parents have always favored my sister since we were young and never treated me well. When I was a child, I wore my sister's hand-me-down clothes and ate the food she didn't want. Stop lying. We already know your true colors." Chin frowned as she read this comment. "I know you don't believe me. In this day and age, it's hard to imagine such things still happen. If I hadn't experienced it myself, I wouldn't believe it either. Enough. How long are you going to keep pretending? Refund, refund." Chin grew angry. "If you can't empathize with the suffering of others, then my livestream is not welcome to you. Please leave." How disgusting. I bought so many things from her livestream, but the quality of the products I received was terrible. How thick-skinned do you have to be to say such disgusting things? I never dared to speak up before, thinking I was just paying for my misfortune, but it turns out I was blatantly deceived. Yesterday, I ate the braised chicken feet she sold and ended up vomiting and having diarrhea. I strongly suspect they were unregulated products. Chin's live stream was flooded with criticism. At first, she tried to explain, but it was clear she was losing control of the situation. She couldn't hold back her temper either and retorted, "Buy it or not, it's up to you. If you don't want to buy, just leave my livestream." So she's finally showing her true colors. How disgusting. I suggest the relevant authorities strictly investigate the products she sells. There must be something wrong with them. I'll be waiting for the inspection results. With the help of her assistant, Chin finally realized what was happening. Chin's face instantly turned pale. She hurriedly ended the livestream and immediately called me, "Chinpei, how could you be so malicious? You secretly recorded so many videos." I couldn't help but laugh. "Malicious? This is called self-defense. If I hadn't been reborn and prepared in advance, wouldn't I have been harmed by you again? So you've been reborn too? Chinpei, I knew you were trying to get back at me. You set me up step by step, making me fall into your trap." Chin was on the verge of a breakdown. "I didn't set you up. You chose every path yourself. To put it bluntly, if you hadn't turned against me and our parents, I wouldn't have released these videos. At the very least, I would have let you live a normal life. Do you think I'd believe you?" Chin said fiercely. "Otherwise, I would have made these videos public when Peiqing was caught." Chin was left speechless by my words and could only say, "You reap what you sow." I sneered and continued calmly, "Chin, if I'm not mistaken, your livestream is about to face a massive wave of returns, because you signed a betting agreement with the manufacturer. Failing to meet the sales target in a single livestream will leave you completely bankrupt. Moreover, your involvement in selling unregulated products has already constituted a criminal offense. The police will be knocking on your door soon. Lastly, I looked it up for you. Selling unregulated products with sales exceeding 2 million yuan can lead to a prison sentence of up to 15 years. Doing the math, your livestream sales far surpass 2 million yuan. Chinpei," and Chin screamed hysterically, "Congratulations on rotting in jail. I'm going to kill you." Chin's composure completely shattered. When Chin threatened to kill me, it wasn't an empty threat. Early the next morning, I noticed a suspicious vehicle tailing me. It was almost laughable. Even after being reborn, they were using the same old tricks. Did they really think I'd fall for it again? I had been rigorously practicing my driving skills since my rebirth, anticipating a day like this. I furrowed my brow and slammed the accelerator to the floor. Chinchi, following closely behind, sped up frantically to keep up. At that moment, I executed a sharp drift, narrowly avoiding a collision with an oncoming truck. Chinchi, however, had no time to brake or swerve and crashed into the truck at full speed. The impact completely destroyed the front of his car. Miraculously, Chinchi survived but was left paralyzed from the neck down, condemned to spend the rest of his life bedridden. I went to see him. He was still seething with rage and frustration when he saw me, but there was nothing he could do. In a way, this was worse than death for him. Looking down at him condescendingly, I mocked, even after being reborn. A fool remains a fool. Enjoy what's left of your broken and foolish life. I watched as Chinchi finally broke down into uncontrollable sobs. I don't know if it was regret or resentment that overwhelmed him, but it didn't matter anymore. After leaving the hospital, I knew I would never return. My parents hadn't even visited him once. When I informed them about Chinchi's accident, they were on vacation abroad and casually remarked, "He brought it upon himself." To live a life like Chinchi's is truly pitiable. I looked up at the clear blue sky, feeling an indescribable sense of relief and liberation. Now, it's my turn to fully embrace the beautiful life I was denied in my previous existence. That's the end of today's story. If you've listened this far, please leave a comment saying happy every day to wish everyone happiness every day.